this to work.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Okay. So I think we should be live now. Let me refresh the page. Here we go. Yay, we're live.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. This is Coach Teany, and we have Sharon Lipinski with us today. And we're about to do a Pivot to Greatness video on how habits make you happier and healthier without having to think about it. But before we get there, I just wanted to give you a quick bio on Sharon while people start joining. That way you guys know who she is and how awesome she is. She is the author of 365 Ways to Live Generously, which, by the way, that's such a cool title. Simple habits for a life that's good for you and for others. She's a speaker, TV personality, and coach dedicated to helping people create the right habits so they can be happier, healthier, and more productive at home and in their work, which is why I'm so happy that you're here, because this whole group is all about living authentically. And part of that is, living yourself, being yourself, and being happy, right?
That's right.
So here we go. She's a speaker, TV personality, and coach dedicated to helping people create the right habits so they can be happier and healthier and productive at home and in their work. She's a founder of the nonprofit Change Gang's virtual living circles, which helps people make small donations that make a big impact by pooling their small donations with the donations of other people who care about the same cause. She also maintains the largest repository. This was actually interesting. The largest repository of information documenting the tools, strategies, and accomplishments of some of America's 800 charitable giving circles. How long have you been working on that?
I've been running my own giving circles for 5 years now, and I started that project about the same time.
Wow.
A lot of people have not heard of a giving circle, and yet you see them all over the place. A giving circle is just a group of people who come together to give, because what we know is that we can do more as a group than we can do alone. So often churches will act as giving circles, but there are actually at least 800 giving circles all around the country, referring to themselves as giving circles, and they pool their donations, and they're out there making a really big impact in their communities.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and one of the things that's fascinating about them, they're all doing something totally different. They have totally different structures. So I just wanted to start capturing some of this information so that people could start, they were interested.
Absolutely. So, how do people go about finding these circles? I know churches do it too, but how would I find one?
Well, you go to my web, virtualgivingcircles.com. We have 3 giving circles. We have one around just ending poverty, one just around pets, and one just supporting veterans. So you can find one there, but you can always start your own. So if you're interested in that, your viewers can email me, and I put together a little guide, like how to start your own giving circle. And it just walks you through step by step. Anybody can start one anywhere, supporting any cause.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I've actually been looking for ways to give back. I've had a couple of thoughts about, how to contribute to the homeless in New York City, which, I live in New York City, so the homeless population is huge here. And just different ways, that we can contribute even in small ways, right? So this is awesome. Thank you so much. So whoever's interested, go to Sharon's website. We'll talk about it at the end. It's SharonLipinski.com, and she can show you how to do it, how to get started. Okay, so again, welcome everyone. We gave it a couple more minutes, but we're going to get started. So I did a quick little intro on Sharon, and I just have a couple of questions for you, Sharon.
Sure.
So first, I'd love to know how you got started in this field. I know you've done all this amazing work helping, charities and these giving circles, but what was your pivot point that, had you sort of shift gears in your life and pursue this type of career?
Well, for me, it started when I was working in the mortgage business, and I was working 60 hours a week. I hated my job. And one day I started waking up in the middle of the night with panic attacks. And I'd sit up in bed and my heart is racing and I can't catch my breath. And I would kind of just sit there with my hand on my bedroom wall saying, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then one day I heard myself say to a colleague, if I have to do this for the rest of my life, I'd rather kill myself.
Wow.
And fortunately, I heard what I said, and I was like, "Whoa, warning bells."
Yeah, red flag.
So I quit my job, and then I spent like the next year discovering myself, because all I did was work. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was interested in. I had no idea what was next. And as part of this process, I ended up renting a house on the coast of Oregon for the entire month of November, because I thought, you know what, I just need to be alone and with nature, and that's going to be how I'm going to figure stuff out. So when I was there, my dogs and I would walk down the hill, and there was a corner convenience store, and there was an older gentleman who was living there as the caretaker. And it was November, so there weren't enough people to justify keeping the store open. So the store was closed, and he was just making sure, nothing got broken into or whatever, but he was always alone. We would chat for a few minutes, and then I'd continue on my way. And I just knew that he was going to be alone for Thanksgiving. And very nervously and very hesitatingly, I invited him to spend Thanksgiving dinner with me at a Chinese restaurant. And honestly, I hoped he'd say no. I wanted to feel good for asking, but I didn't really want to do it. I mean, this whole thing kind of made me nervous. But he said yes. So Thanksgiving Day, I pick him up, we drive into town, and we shared plates of sesame chicken and beef with broccoli while he talked about his kids. And when I sat there looking at him, I didn't see a near stranger. What I saw was a man who regretted his past. And I saw a father who was proud of his kids. And I saw a human being who just never had the opportunity to talk to somebody who cared about him and what was important to him. And this was it was such a little thing for me. It was 2 hours of my time, $30. And it was a big deal for him. And that was the moment, I finally got it, right? It really is these small, tiny moments of generosity that make the world a better place.
Absolutely.
But I had to ask myself, well, all right, you know this, but why aren't you doing it, right? And I had lots of reasons. I was scared I was going to do it wrong. I didn't want to get taken advantage of. And honestly, part of it was that I was just so darn busy that I didn't have an opportunity to notice these opportunities, let alone have time to do anything about it. So from that experience, I wanted to make generosity a habit, and that's when I founded my giving circles. So we give $25 a month, and we come together once a month for an hour. And most people don't even do that. It's only the board who comes together. So it's super simple. It's super easy, but it's a habit. It happens automatically. We've now donated more than $55,000.
Wow, that's amazing.
$5 a time, right? So what I realized, though, is that what works for philanthropy actually works for every other area of my life, too. And that's when I wrote my book, to capture all of those other things that we should just put onto autopilot, because some things we do have to think about, but some things we don't. The exercising, the eating right, the feeling grateful, the spending time with our family, the philanthropy, all of those things we don't have to think about. Those things can happen automatically and unconsciously, leaving us time and energy for those things that are most important to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that story. Oh my gosh. It's so amazing how you, like what you said, the smallest little things that you can do for another person.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to, you don't even have to spend money. Sometimes just walking down the streets, giving a smile to someone is enough, But it's so amazing when you can just pull just a little bit of money with a group, right? And masses, right? They make the difference.
Yes.
So it's great that you were able to do that. What a great story. Thank you for that. And so there goes your book. Can you show us your title, the book cover? There we go. 365 Ways to Live Generously. Simple Habits for a Life That's Good for You and for Others. That's awesome. I'm totally going to go to your site and look at these giving circles and how to set these up, or at least to find one that's locally. I'm sure, I'm in New York, so I'm sure there's tons. I'm hoping.
Yeah, and ours are virtual. That's the other thing, right? Is that you don't have to do it alone. There are people all over the world who care what you care about, and the internet makes it easy for us to find them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so another question for you is, now that we're getting more into your book and what you do in terms of habits and teaching people about, educating people about it, what has been the number one reason, in your opinion, that people don't follow through with these habits and their desires? What do you think is one of the number one habits? What reasons, rather?
Well, the reason is we have to think about it, right? So we've all had this experience, right? And I'm just imagining that you're a little bit like me and you love self-help books, right? I'm a self-help junkie, and I read the book and I fold the pages and I underline, and then I put it on my shelf and it becomes a shelf-help book.
I love that.
Actually implement any of those things that I read about, right? So we all know that knowing isn't enough, that the intention to change doesn't necessarily translate into change. And that's because intention is a conscious process, and that requires us to call on a scarce but valuable resource called willpower. But willpower is a losing battle with the reality of your daily life. The problem is not that we don't know what to do. We all know what we need to do. I need to exercise. I need to eat better. I need to. We all have the list of things that we know we need to do. The reason we're not doing it, it's not because of lack of willpower. It's not because of lack of motivation. It's because we're weak or we're lazy or this moral failing. See, there's this huge myth out there. You just got to buckle down. You just got to stick to it. You just need more willpower. But it's not true. The problem is that if you make a decision and then you rely on your willpower and motivation to make it last, you're going to fail every time. Mm. And we know this. We've all had this experience where we say, hey, you know what? I'm going to eat better. And you walk into the office and somebody brought in a box of donuts. And that day you are totally strong in that. There's no problem. Your willpower is there for you. But sometimes it's gone, right? Sometimes you walk into the office and somebody brought donuts and you crack, right? So what is going on?
Just one donut, Sharon, just one.
Not even one. I'm going to take a half of a donut because that's how we operate. So to understand why our willpower isn't enough, we first have to understand what willpower is. Willpower is a form of mental energy, and we use this to control our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our impulses.
Yeah.
Right? Now, there are 3 reasons why our willpower isn't there for us. The first reason could be because your willpower tank is empty. So just like the tank of gasoline in your car, if you're driving around, eventually you're going to run out of gas. Well, the same is true of your willpower. You get one willpower tank for everything. Every time you make a decision, every time you force yourself to be polite when you really just wanted to be snarky, every time you make yourself deal with that email that's been sitting in the bottom of your inbox because you just didn't know what to do with it, right? All of these hundreds and tiny decisions that we're making all day long, and in our busy modern lives, we're making decisions constantly. So each one of those is draining our tank of willpower. So sometimes our willpower isn't there for you because you've just plain used it up.
Yeah.
Right? Time for that tank to be refilled. Mm-hmm. Now, the second reason is your tank is drained with physical stress. So even though willpower is a form of mental energy, it actually runs off of glucose and sleep. So if you're hungry, you're running on fumes, right? We've had that experience. We're hangry.
Yes. It's a popular work term.
And somebody says something and you can't stop yourself. The willpower isn't there to control the impulse and you snap. At the end of a long, hard day, you get home from work, you didn't get a good night's sleep the night before. How much harder is it to stick to those healthy eating goals? That our bodies are craving macaroni and cheese and brownies because our bodies need to be refilled. If your body doesn't have what it needs, if it's not getting physical activity, if it's not getting enough water, if it's not getting enough sleep, you're not going to have your willpower there for you when you need it. Now, the third reason is that it has been drained with emotional stress. I'm sure none of your audience, they have no stress in their lives, right?
Right.
No stress here. So if we're with something and these going over and over head, right? What am I going to give my boss, my spouse, my mother-in-law, my kids? This I don't want them to do. How am I going to pay all my bills? What am I going to do if I go to this networking event there's food there I should meet? Every time we pick that thought up and put it back down, it's using up willpower, and it makes it harder for us to control the impulse the next time around. Absolutely. So whether it's because you thought a busy day, you just plain forget, or physical stress, or emotional stress, your willpower is going to fail you when you need it most. So we don't want to rely on our willpower. Absolutely.
So what are we going to do, Sharon? So many people are like, what do you mean? That's all I got, Sharon. I don't have anything all up my sleeves.
I have no answers for you. So, it's good night.
No, it is. Some people they use will. They feel like that's their motivation. Like, I'm just going to will it to happen. Right. And they use all their energy trying to make things happen. We all know that that's the wrong kind of energy to use. So
it'll work for a while.
It'll work for a while. You're absolutely right. But then after a while, like you said, your tank runs empty and you're like, okay, what am I going to do now? So right. I'd love to hear what you do and maybe what you teach for helping people get past that, because you can only get so far. And maybe that's just a start, right? Maybe there's something else you can do after that.
So what we want to do is we want to make it a habit, because habit bypasses your willpower account entirely. So let's start with what exactly is a habit. A habit is a routine of behavior, occurs regularly, and tends to occur unconsciously. But what we're actually talking about when we talk about habits is a physiological process. So inside your brain, there is a neural pathway for the beginning of an action all the way to an end of the action. And the first time you do something, your brain has really hard at this. All the neurons along that pathway are going to fire. But you do it the next time, it's a little more familiar. You don't have to work quite as hard. We're going to have less neurons fire. Then you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and fewer neurons fire. It becomes easier and easier and easier. And when something is a habit, only the neurons at the beginning of the action fire and the end fire. The rest of that time, you're on autopilot.
Right.
So here's an example where we've all experienced this in our daily life. And maybe not you. You live in New York City, but did you learn how to drive?
I did, and I do. I must be insane, but I do.
Do you remember learning how to drive?
Oh my God, it was terrible.
Right? How hard? It was so hard. I learned how to drive on a stick shift. So my paying attention to the lights and the other people and the drivers. I'm also learning how to step on the clutch, put the car in gear, and then navigate this really tricky process of pressing in on the gas and releasing on the clutch at the right pressure. Like in the beginning, all I could do was focus on driving. That was it. And I didn't even do that very well. Now, have you ever had an experience where you get in your car in your driveway and you arrive at your destination and you think, how did I get here?
Yep.
I hope I stopped at every stoplight because I don't even remember.
It sounds a little scary, but it happens.
It is. That's the habit creation and process. In the beginning, it's really, and once it becomes a habit, just the neurons at the beginning and at the end fire. And in the meantime, you can think about what you had at the grocery store, what phone calls you need to make when you get into the office. So habits are a wonderful productivity tool for our brain because it frees us up for doing other things. And
it's like coasting, right? Like when you're coasting, you put it on auto on the car. You're just coasting.
It actually literally takes less energy because you have less neurons working in your brain. So these are wonderful. They're powerful, but they're a double-edged sword. So we don't want to just let our habits happen by happenstance. We want to take control of our habits and make sure that we identify the habits of behavior, thoughts, emotions, relationship habits that are going to really help us live our best lives. So we have habits of behavior. These are little things like brushing your teeth in the morning, but they're also big things like what you eat on a regular basis. And then we have habits of thought and emotion. So thinking positively, feeling confident, these are all habits.
Absolutely.
And then we have relationship habits, because by and large, we interact with people in pretty much the same way, from how well we listen to the things we talk about with people, the things we do together. Right? These are habits, and we want to choose the habits, make the habits that serve our greatest good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So do you have a method that sort of, I guess, jumpstarts the creation of these habits?
Yeah. So I walk people through a 5-step process. We can go ahead and go through that. And if you have a habit that you've been wanting to create, we can kind of workshop that with you if you'd like.
Sure. Actually, there's something I've been working with the group on, which is waking up sort of, ready to thrive, right? So waking up energized and doing sort of habits that help you sort of energize your body. So maybe that could be something we can work on.
Yeah. All right. That sounds great. So let's start with step 1. And step 1 is really getting clear on your why. Because here's what we know is that creating new habits, right? We're going to face challenges along the way. It's going to take effort. So why is this important? And if you go through this step and you realize, you know what, it's not that important, then get rid of it, right? We need to focus our time and energy where it's going to make the biggest impact of our lives. So if you're really not that committed to this habit, that's okay. Let it go. But I find that getting clear on this step is super important.
Absolutely. Totally makes sense.
So where I like to start in identifying your why has to do with, let's start with what your values are. So when you think of the things that are most important to you in your life, right? If you were to turn to a friend and say, you know what's most important to me? It's what? It's family, faith, honesty, compassion, kindness, integrity, health, financial freedom, service, whatever it is. These are just some ideas. Awesome. Everybody's answers are different, but start with identifying what your 3 most important values are.
So I think for me, it would be the connection with my family and friends. Absolutely, my connection. And I can tell you these things because I'm a coach too. So I've done these in my mind, like in my sleep. Another one that's really important to me is growing, because like Tony says, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, growth is a huge one. And then I would say the third one is variety, having the ability to do different things, travel different places, things like that.
Okay, good. And then what are the 3 most important roles that you show up in the world? That could be friend, spouse, parent, your career, possibly you have a role in your work or in your church that's really important to you. What are the 3 most important roles that you're filling in your life?
Sure. So parent definitely is one of my major roles. Teacher as a coach. And I would say, there's so many to choose from, Karen. What would be the third one? I think friend, because I've definitely consider myself a good friend.
Okay. Now we have to understand, let's look down the road. So right now, the status quo is in some capacity acceptable. If it wasn't, you would have already changed it, right? So if we look down the road 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, and this habit that you want to create has not become a habit in your life, how is that hurting you? And how is it not just hurting you, but how is it preventing you from fully living out your values? How is it damaging your ability to fulfill your roles to your greatest capacity? Is it disappointing people? Is it hurting people? Is it letting them out? So we don't have to work this one out right now, but when I do this with...
Spill my guts, Sharon. What's...
Well, as I tell people, I'm like, this process actually doesn't feel good, and that's good. We don't want it to feel. You need to know where this is leading. Make the status quo so unacceptable that you can't not change, right? And you get clear on why you have to change. And then you get clear on what's waiting you there, right? If this becomes a habit in your life, what are you going to be able to do, be, or achieve that you can't do right now? And how are you going to be able to fulfill your roles better? How are you going to be a better parent, a better teacher, a better friend? And how does it mean that you have more connection and you have more variety and more growth in your life? How is it fulfilling those values?
Right.
Getting really descriptive in that. So, oftentimes if you hear people make a New Year's resolution at the beginning of the year, it might sound something like, well, I'm going to exercise because I want to lose weight. But I think a really powerful why might sound something more like this. I'm going to exercise every day because when I exercise, I feel just a little bit more positive about the world. And when I feel a little more positive, I see good things happening. I see good things in people that I somehow was missing before. And that makes me feel happier.
Absolutely.
When I exercise every day, I have more energy. When I have more energy, it means that I come home from work and I still have energy to play with my kids. And my heart is so full that I am being the parent that I know that I'm capable of.
Yeah.
I exercise every day because when I exercise every day, I have focus. And when I have more focus, I get my stuff done at work. I am really just setting up my accomplishments and meeting my goals.
Yeah. It's emotional, right? I mean, it's an emotional reason, feeling.
Getting very deep into what's important to you and using all of those senses. So if you can also say, when I exercise every day, I feel strong. I feel in my body that I kept a promise to myself. And because I feel that, my shoulders are back, my chest is out, I feel more confident. So just to incorporate as much emotion and as many senses into your vision of what's possible with this.
Absolutely.
So that's step one. You have to get clear on your why. Now, step 2 is to identify your action. And this is where most New Year's resolutions just fall down, right? People say, well, this is the year that I finally get healthy. Well, what does that mean? Right? Anything, if it means anything, it could mean nothing. So your action should have 3 very important components. It should be simple, specific, and attainable. Simple. Just make it so easy for you to do in the beginning. You can add the complexity later on as that neural pathway starts to get a little deeper. You can make it more difficult, but in the beginning, reduce the number of decisions, reduce the goals, just make it super easy to do this. It needs to be specific.
Yep.
So get healthy, exercise not specific enough. Specifically, are you going to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm doing 15 minutes of cardio, and Tuesday, Thursday, I'm doing 15 minutes of strength training.
Yep.
Or if your habit is to eat better, you can say, I'm having a salad for lunch, right? Specific. You have to know exactly what you're going to do, because oftentimes we fail just because we have to make a decision, right? We make a decision, we're calling on our willpower, can't count on that willpower, so know exactly what you're going to do.
Right. And it also feels like we're going to accomplish a mountain versus like small hills, right?
Yeah. And sometimes mountains can be motivating, but in the beginning, you got to take that mountain in steps, right? So that's the third piece, is that it has to be attainable. So you might have to think of your habit in steps, right? So if you want to exercise, essentially you want to run a marathon, but if walking around the block is difficult for you, don't start out running. That's too big of a step. What if you walked around the block twice? And then once you've gotten there, you take the next step. I'm going to jog around the block once. Now I'm going to jog, whatever your strategy is, but you take it in pieces. So if your strategy is to eat better, instead of redesigning your whole diet en masse, what if you took on just lunch, right? And then I'm going to do I'm going to have a piece of fruit with my breakfast. You just keep taking steps, but each step is one that you can take.
Absolutely.
And then my favorite strategy here is the minimum requirement. Because when you're creating a new habit, it's not about intensity. It is not about duration. It's about repetition. Repetition is the mother of habit. So the most important thing is that you do it. So what is the simplest, most tiniest step that you can take every day with no excuses? Like, what if it was just 1 minute of exercise? Is there any reason that you can't do 1 minute of exercise?
Absolutely. There's no reason. Yeah.
No reason. Right? So on those days that we know we're going to have, on those days where you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm too tired. I'm too busy. I'm too depressed. I don't want to. Your response is, that's fine. I only have to do 1 minute. I only have to do my minimum requirement just to keep the fire of your new habit alive. You just got to keep that pathway under construction.
Absolutely.
And you can always do more. Sometimes people find that they do the minimum requirement and they're like, oh, well, I can keep going. So keep going, fine, right? But you only have to do the 1 minute.
Right. And actually, it feels better. Most people, when they wake up, right, they're like, no, I don't want to get up. Then when they finally do that 1 minute, they're up already. So you might as well do 5 or 10.
Yeah. It'll build. It'll build. See, we have to understand that this is a process. And if we only undertook 1 new healthy habit a month, we're still talking 12 new healthy habits a year. This is life-changing. So we need to give ourselves as long as it takes and understand that if it takes us a month or 2 months to create an exercising habit. So here's an interesting question. And I get this question a lot. How long does it take to create a habit?
You know, I've heard so many different numbers, 17, 21, 30 days. Like, I don't know.
Do you know why you've heard so many numbers?
Because it's different for everyone?
Well,
I don't know.
The reason you hear so many numbers is that they've just made up those numbers. Those numbers were made up. Now, there haven't been a lot of studies on how long it takes, but the University of College London did a study. And what they found is that a habit took anywhere from 18 days to 254 days to create. Wow,
that's a long time.
What is the difference between a habit that takes 18 days and one that takes 254 days?
Right. I don't know.
Well, some habits are easy and some habits are hard, right? I mean, it's totally obvious. We've all had this experience where we try and do something and we're like, oh, that was easy, done. I wanted to drink more water. I'm drinking more water. I wanted to bring my bags into the grocery store. I'm doing it. See, some habits are easy, but lots of people find habits like exercising, meditation. These are hard habits. Anytime we're changing our eating habits, this is a hard habit because we have so much mental history. We have emotional. We have deep neural pathways already in existence. We have stories, right? I can't change. I've tried it before. It doesn't work. Here it happens again, right? We have all of these stories.
Yep.
And then forget about it. Let's talk about relationship habits. Because not only are you bringing all of that emotional baggage, the other person's bringing all of their emotional baggage too, right? Yeah. So relationship habits are really hard to change. And we just have to understand that when we're undertaking a difficult habit, it's going to take as long as it takes.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is interesting when it involves whatever habit you're building involves other people, because then you have to sort of work and collaborate, right? So I can see that lasting a little bit longer than 18 days. And also you're right. I think your beliefs, right, which is all your history, your stories, all these different things play a huge role in whether you believe you can do it or not, right? And whether, you're connected to that habit or not, and all these different things. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah. And I tell people though, is you don't have to believe in yourself to make changes. You just have to do it, because eventually our brain will catch up with our behavior. So I don't believe, and for a long time, I was not a person who exercised. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't need it, blah, blah, blah. Right? You do it long enough and eventually your brain goes, hi, look at that. well, I thought I was the sort of person who couldn't do that, but I'm doing that. So I guess I was wrong about that, right? We don't have to believe it. We just have to do it. And if we do it long enough, and if we can break it down into these simple, specific, attainable steps with minimum requirements, and we can just build that neural pathway, it just happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to ask the audience really quick if anyone has any habits they've been trying to master for any amount of time. This is a really interesting perspective, 18 to, what was it, 200 and something times? 254. That's an insane, that's an insane amount. But yeah, I've heard all kinds of numbers, and definitely for so many different reasons, people are they find it difficult. But you're right. I think that when your brain, you just start doing it, it just becomes part of you, right? I mean, that's what you want. You want it to be part of you, and then eventually you understand it. Yurga says exercise. Yeah, I think that's like one of the major ones, right? Exercise. So many people.
Absolutely.
I have a couple of clients who also have a hard time. This is why I did the whole Rise to Thrive challenge, because people have a hard time waking up too, like waking up and really getting up to be energized and, so that's another one that's been really big for people.
Yes. And often people have trouble waking up because their bedtime habits are no good. So sometimes if you take care of it on the front end, waking up can actually become a little easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. Oh, drinking water. I go from a week of doing it so well and I feel good, and then for some reason I just forget. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can talk about step 5 now, because this is what she's referring to, is you have to plan for success. And there's 3 parts to planning for success. First, you have to say logistically, what do I need? Where do I need it to be successful? Secondly, what are the external obstacles that I'm going to face? These are things that we have no control over. Sometimes it's a hectic work schedule, you travel, you have a vacation, family members who we love dearly, but sometimes do not support us in the way that we would really like to be supported, right?
Yeah, family, we love them so much.
So they're
not always helpful.
They're not. So they can be external obstacles. And then the third part is to identify your internal obstacles, because sometimes we're our own worst enemy. Okay. So anytime that you don't do your habit, right? You're like, I forgot that I was planning on drinking water. The question that you have to ask, because we are not going to get sucked into negative self-talk. That tape that plays like, oh, you failed again. Why are you blah, blah, blah. All that, we're going to get rid of that, because that is not helping us achieve anything. Instead, the question you're going to ask is, what happened? What happened? Was it a logistical problem? Right? I did not have an action step that was clear. It's not an action step that I enjoy. You know what? I said I was going to exercise and I started running, but it turns out I hate running. Okay, we'll choose a new action, right? Or you haven't found a trigger, and we kind of missed this step because I jumped ahead, but you haven't found the right time in your day to bring this habit in, or you haven't found the right reward. We're going to talk about those in a second too.
Yeah.
So it could be a logistical problem.
Yeah.
It could be external.
That's a good one too. Yurka just said, my mom cooks so good, but unhealthy. So other contributors outside of yourself. External. So what happened? My mom cooks good. Okay. What happened? What am I going to do about it next time this happens? This needs to now become a plan, right? Guaranteed, any obstacle that you run into once, you're going to run into again. So you need to know, the next time my mom cooks unhealthy, what is my plan? Because you can't probably control how your mom cooks. That's outside of your control. Right. So that's step 5, is to really get clear on how to be successful. So wait, what was the trigger part?
All right. So I jumped ahead. So step 2 was to choose your action. Now step 3, you want to anchor your new habit onto an existing habit. So I mentioned that habits are something that occur unconsciously. So how do we know that it's time to do a habit? Well, the answer is that you've been triggered. Something in your environment has told you it is time to act in a certain way right now. And the easiest place to see this is in your morning. Your alarm clock is a trigger that says it's time to do something. And what that something is depends on you, right? Are you the sort of person who gets right out of bed, or are you the sort of person who presses the snooze button? Whatever it is, it's probably the same thing you did yesterday and the day before that. That's because that's what you typically do. And then when you get out of bed, I have to go straight into the bathroom and I have to brush my teeth. But my husband goes, makes a cup of coffee. That's his habit, right? Your whole morning is a series of habits, each one triggering the next. So you want to anchor your new habit onto an existing habit that will now trigger this new habit. If you're going to take vitamins, if that's something you're working on, you can put your vitamins in your coffee cup. And now going in to get your coffee in the morning is your trigger for taking your vitamins. Yep. Getting out of bed in the morning is a trigger for doing one of your morning habits. One of your, what did you say, wake up to thrive?
Yeah. Rise to thrive.
Okay. So opening the refrigerator door can be a trigger for eating a piece of fruit. Where in your day is this new habit going to occur? So our mornings, our lunch times, our leaving work, our just home from work, and our pre-bedtime, those tend to be times in our lives that we have lots of habits kind of already ingrained. We tend to do things periodically. So those are great times to look at to find, to place in this new habit.
Absolutely. And actually, I was going to mention to Tanya that in the morning when I have my cup of water, I take my vitamins. So there's two habits combined already. And then when I eat my lunch, another glass or two of water, and then dinner, another glass or two, right? So it's like a consistent times that I do it.
Exactly. So that's what you want to do is you want to fit your new habit into your existing routine. Yeah. And that can be a little bit more of an art than a science, because you might think, well, I want to do this in the morning, but the reality is your mornings are too busy. Maybe you look at coming home from work and doing it, right? So we need to just kind of play with the reality of our daily lives and figure out where it's going to work.
Absolutely. That's very true.
Now,
go ahead.
No, it's fine.
I was just going to ask the audience if there's any other habits they've been wanting to create in their lives. Feel free to speak up while Sharon is talking. Go ahead, Sharon.
All right. So the fourth step is to find a reward. That you do everything for a reason. Like even the worst habits, even the habits afterwards, you're like, oh my God, why did I do that? Like you're getting some out of it. You're doing it for a reason. So we can, the rewards though for our new healthy habits, unfortunately, they're long-term. We know eventually, if I keep exercising, I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to get better sleep. I'm going to have better sex, like all of these benefits that we're going to get from exercising. But that's long-term, right? In the meantime, we don't want to have to just force ourselves. We don't want to call on that willpower because we know that's not going to work for long enough. So what we can do is we can tap into our body's reward system. When we reward ourselves, dopamine, endorphins go off in our brain, and our brain associates that with the last thing that we just did. So now when you miss it, your brain and your body go, gosh, you know what? Something feels wrong. Something's missing. You know, would you go do that thing so I can have my reward now? We bring our body and our mind along as a partner instead of as an adversary. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Now,
Absolutely.
When I talk to women about this, they're always so resistant. They just say, well, my reward is doing the habit. That is reward enough. And my answer to that is, if that were true, you'd already be doing it. So we want to choose a reward that is cheap, easy, healthy, and occurs as close to the end of your action as possible. So I'm going to throw out a bunch of ideas here for your audience. Now, rewards will fall into one of three categories. There's physical rewards, there's personal rewards, and there's social rewards. Physical rewards are things that either that are moving your body, not exercise though, moving your body in a way that is fun, enjoyable to you. So maybe you want to have a pom-pom that you shake in the air. You have like a little victory dance that you do. You're moving your body in a way that feels good to you. Or you're causing a physical reaction in your body. So after you do your habit, you could have a cup of coffee. You could have a small piece of candy. You could get to have your breakfast. You could have lunch.
I have a favorite, Sharon. I want to share it with you since you mentioned candy. I mean, I do it in a healthy way, obviously, but I love rewarding myself with dark chocolate. It's my favorite.
There you go. That's great. Better or worse, food is always a reward. Always. It doesn't have to be food though. You could take a hot shower. You could do a self-care routine, like if you have like a cleanser on your face and that feels really enjoyable to you, or you want to put lotion on. Even something as simple as brushing your teeth. You know that tingly, clean feeling after brushing your teeth?
Yeah.
Toothbrushing in this country did not take off until they added that to toothpaste. That's a reward.
Interesting.
We don't brush our teeth. We miss that feeling. That's what we're missing. So if you think about the habits that are most ingrained in our life, they are these kinds of habits with these strong built-in physical rewards. Your morning cup of coffee, smoking, drinking, right? These are all causing physical reactions in our body, but we can do it intentionally.
Right.
Or it could be a personal reward. Some people are just the kind of people who love checklists. They love the feeling of accomplishment by checking something off on their list. If that's you, put it on your list, check it off. Wow. You could read a book, watch a TV show. You could put a deposit in a vacation fund, and you could get one of those, clear glass jars. You walk over there and you drop the money in and you see it, right? Personal rewards are things that you personally find rewarding.
There's one thing that is sort of a hot term right now, which is gamification. And a lot of websites are building their sites with gamification in mind so that it's a reward system, right? Even though it's like, for example, Duolingo is a very popular site for learning a language. And they make it so that you earn points and then you get badges and all these fun things. So, you can gamify it for yourself. And what I tell people is, get a stack of sticky pads and write the things you need to do if you have like a to-do list, and then crumple them up and put them in like a small little wastebasket. And at the end of the day, you have this whole wastebasket full, and it became a game for you, like, oh, now I did 10 things today, or I did 3 things today, that kind of thing. So.
Amira said she likes graphs showing progress. So that's great. If you know that about yourself, then like incorporate some sort of graphing mechanism. Rewards can also be social, coloring. So that's great. Like coloring, after you have it, you get to spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes coloring, right? That could be a reward for you.
I'm so glad you said that, because there's a lot of adult coloring books out there right now. And I have like 2 and they're so fun. Even like one of my bosses has one. So for those of you who have loved to color in the past, there's hope for you with art, with adult coloring books.
Yes. Now, rewards can also be social, and you especially see this in the gamification part, right? So maybe you call a friend. Maybe if you have a Fitbit, that means you can check in with your other partners and say, I just finished my workout. How are you doing? Mm-hmm. You can come into your Facebook page and post it and support from everybody else. 1.2 billion people are logging into Facebook every single day.
How crazy is that?
Because we're addicted to the social reward. So what if you do your new action and you get to spend 15 minutes on Facebook, right? Yeah. If that will work for you, if you'll find that motivating.
Now, let me ask you something. Does it work the opposite way too? Like, okay, you don't get to go on Facebook until you do that action. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. And that, for me, I got really successful with exercising when I showered after I exercised, because I love showering. It's like my top 3 favorite activities. I love showering. So
that's a good one.
Yeah. And so I could not shower if I did not exercise. And it happened right afterwards. And that did it for me. And now, see, and it's only in the beginning where you have to be really conscious about doing this, getting that neural pathway. Now, exercising is just part of who I am. I don't have to reward myself anymore because now the long-term benefits of it, right? So now I miss it if I don't do it just for the sake of that, not for the hot shower. I'm now able to rate them, but in the beginning, for me, that was really critical.
Yeah, I see a couple of posts here of folks that have interesting ones. Yurka says she loves graphs showing progress. Yeah, there's quite a few people in this group who love to see progression, over time. So that's definitely a reward in itself. Siania says, mine is coloring. It's my zen. I just love it. Yeah. And Michelle says, I add the days I go to the gym on my calendar so I can look back the last 30 days to see how many times I went. It becomes a sense of self-accomplishment. See? Very good. Really good, you guys.
So that's it. I mean, we've gone through the 5 steps. Get clear on your why. Identify your simple, specific, attainable action. Anchor on an existing habit. Reward yourself and plan for success.
Awesome.
So, like we mentioned in the beginning, we're creating these habits. We're going to create these things that we're going to do without thinking about them. So it's really important to focus on the right habits. And that's what my book is really about. So I've identified 7 habits: physical health, mindfulness, relationships, connecting with yourself, gratitude, simplicity, and philanthropy. And each habit occurs once a week. So over the course of the year, you get 52 times to practice health, 52 times to practice gratitude, and just slowly, gently, consistently, through the act of repetition, these will become a habit in your life.
That's fantastic. I love the ones that you've chosen too.
Thank you. It's a long time to really kind of hone in on what I felt like were the foundational habits, so that, what I wanted to do is we spend so much time taking care of other people. That's what we always think about generosity means. Like, oh, I got to take care of, yes. And we're very good at that. But we also have to be generous to ourselves, right? Not only do we deserve it, but we can't do as good a job of taking care of other people if we're not taking care of ourselves, because we're giving on credit and eventually that comes due.
Yeah, we have to fill our cups first. Absolutely.
So these habits make sure that you are living a life that is good for you and good for other people.
Absolutely. This is so awesome. So you guys, Facebook family, tribe, feel free to ask any questions. And I had another question for you, Sharon. So which one do you think of the 5 steps, which one do you think people get stuck on the most?
I see a lot of people get stuck on the action itself, because we'll say something like, okay, so I'm going to eat better. And we think we're clear on what that means. So when I workshop this with people, we spend a lot of time here getting very crystal clear on exactly what this means. Exactly. Clarity in mind is so important.
Yeah. I could see that happening. Yeah. I'm actually surprised that you didn't say, yes, absolutely. They should be specific, but even just getting you to do it the first time. I feel like people get stuck on okay, it's in my calendar. I'm going to do it at this time. I'm going to wake up early. Okay, go. Right. And that's where they're like, I just can't go.
Yes. Right. It's funny that you say that, because what we actually do is we do habit challenges. So it's like, now you have your plan, you know what you need to do, but now you actually have to do it. So let's all do it together, because social rewards and social support are incredibly powerful in helping us achieve our goals. So we do it together. And I email you every day, and people email me back and let me know how we're going, because you're right. Know what we need to do, and actually doing it, there's kind of a leap there. But reach out for help, because especially in your community, right? You're not alone. People will want to go through it with you.
Yeah, and I've done what you've done too. I've had, I've called people early in the morning. Hey, time to wake up. Get up.
That's right.
Bright and early. The life is good. The sun is shining. But you know, we're people, and you know, things happen. Actually, one of the things that I learned was also, you probably include this in your book as well, but you know, when you know that it's something's going to be an issue, you know, plan what you're going to do to help solve it, right? Like, so like what Yurka said, my mom cooks such good food. Okay, you have to plan, either bring something with you, right? That you don't have to eat her food, or do something that sort of preps you for the impending food that you're going to see, right? Something like that. Some plan.
Right. You have to have a plan. Anytime. And sometimes we're getting in our own way. So the question that you ask yourself is, okay, what did I say to myself to justify not doing this? Because sometimes we have internal conflicts. We want this thing, but there's a little part of us that is not totally on board with that. Like, if I exercise and I lose weight, that's going to be great. I really want to lose weight. But there's a little part of me that says, if I lose weight and I start getting attention, I'm not sure how I'm going to handle that attention. It could make me uncomfortable. It could even be dangerous, right? Depending on what our past experiences are.
Right.
And if you have that internal conflict, you're battling yourself, and it's really hard to make progress. Or sometimes it's a fear like, I want this habit and to be a habit in my life, and this is what I'm hoping is going to happen. But if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be hurt and disappointed, and I don't know how I'm going to deal with those emotions, right? If I exercise and I lose weight, I'll finally meet the right person. But if I don't, then what? Right. That fear will keep us from really following through. So we have to just get clear and keep troubleshooting it. What happened? What did I say? Who got in my way? And then come up with a plan for overcoming it.
Yeah, and in those cases where you discover, well, you know, what's going to happen if I get it, you know, or whatever belief systems, it's good to talk about it, right? Because sometimes even just speaking it, you know, kind of resolves it in some ways.
Exactly. But if we don't know it's there, we can't address it. We can't talk to it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sharon. Folks online, let me know if you guys have any questions for her before we close out this call. So let's show us the book one more time, and let's talk about, where are you online on social media? What's your website, and where can they find you?
Well, if you want to go to bestlifehabits.com, they can download the habit toolbox. It walks them through the steps that we went through today. So that would be a good place to go. Also, go get my book. It's a beautiful book. I'm so proud of it. Do you mind if I share an entry with you?
Go for it. Bestlifehabits.com. Yes? Okay. I just posted it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So day 149 is called Gratitude Rampage. And obviously it's the habit of gratitude. So every day opens with a quote. And today's quote is, gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Melody Beattie. And then there's a short write-up after that. So today it says, there's so much to say thank you for in so little time. Today, go on a gratitude rampage and thank as many people, objects, and technologies as possible. Nothing is limits. If it makes your life better, thank it. If it has positive qualities, thank it. On your mark, get set, go.
Nice.
And then every day has a practice. So today says, starting in your home, thank all the people who make your life better. Feel grateful to your spouse, your children, your parents. Thank all the technologies that make your life better on a daily basis. Then moving out, ending circle, identify who and what you're grateful for in your neighborhood. Expand the circle to include your city. Who and what you feel grateful for in your city. Expand again to include your state. Who and what can you feel grateful for in your state? What about your country, the world, the universe? Feel your connection to everyone and everything and thank it. So they're all kind of like that. They're 300 to 500 words, so it makes a really nice, easy daily read.
So let me ask you something. I know that, I mean, you've incorporated mindfulness and meditation in your books, which is fantastic. I'm a huge, huge advocate. I talk about it all the time. What is your mindfulness habit? What do you do?
That is a great question. So I'm one of those people who has really struggled to create the meditation habit. But I do like to say that meditation is only one way that we practice mindfulness. Mindfulness to me is noticing each thought, feeling, body sensation in the moment as you're experiencing it without judging it as good or bad. So there are many, many different ways that we can do that. Journaling, gratitude, these are all ways that we can bring more mindfulness into our life. The book itself explores many, many different ways to experience mindfulness and many different meditation styles, because the other thing with meditation, my belief, is that different styles work for different people. So if you've only ever practiced like a simple meditation and you can't do it, well, did you know that there are movement meditations, that there are music meditations? Like there are so many different ways. What was that?
Even painting meditations, all kinds.
Anytime where we bring our focus in and become present is a mindfulness practice.
Absolutely. Really good. I bet it was so hard for you to choose all the cool activities. I mean, just to hone it down into one book.
That's why I'm so open to the book. If I knew how hard the book was going to be, I probably wouldn't have written it, but
good practice for you too.
That's right. That's right.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. So I've posted the link for besthabits.com and also your website, SharonLipinski.com. Are you on social media? Do you have a Twitter, Facebook?
Yes. Facebook is Living Generously Every Day. And I'm so glad that you got a lot out of that, Mayurka. Thank you.
Living, what was it?
Living Generously Every Day. And my Twitter is Sharon Gives.
Love it. I see a theme, Sharon.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So Mayurka said, wow, thanks, Teany. This was a great workshop. Thank you so much to Sharon for sharing her knowledge with us. Definitely, I want to read her book now. Awesome. I feel like there are certain books that I get copies for everyone. This is totally going to be one of them.
That's awesome. Hope you enjoy it. I'm very proud of it. I think it's a beautiful book. So
absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Michelle says, thank you for the great advice. I love the anchoring habits concept. Definitely going to use it. Great, you guys. Feel free to reach out to her. I know that she's more than willing to answer questions that you might have. So reach out to her on Twitter and Facebook and get her book and start practicing. You know, maybe we can do something in our group and start some kind of like group action. You know what I mean? Even like some kind of giving circle. So let's get the book and get started.
Good luck, you all. And thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. Thank you again, Sharon. You guys have an amazing evening and look for Sharon online. All right. Bye, everyone. Bye, everybody.